Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Adkup Show. Today, we are diving deep into the economic world of Gen Z. Gen Z is the generation which was born between 1997 and 2012. This generation is stepping into adulthood in a world of economic uncertainties. From student debt to skyrocketing housing costs, their financial journey is unlike any generation before them. So, without wasting time, let's dive into how economic conditions are shaping Gen Z's spending habits, career choices, and future outlook. So, now before getting into details, let me tell you that this generation, that is Gen Z, will be directly responsible for the world's future for the next 50 years at least. With keeping that in mind, let's get into it. So, in order to understand Gen Z's economic challenges, we need to look at the world they inherited. This generation grew up during one of the most turbulent economic period in recent history. They were kids during 2008 financial crisis, teenagers during the rise of the gig economy, and now young adults navigating the post-pandemic world. The COVID-19 pandemic in particular reshaped the global economy in the ways that directly impacts Gen Z. Remote work became the norm, inflation hit records high, and the job market became a roller coaster. For example, in 2024, gas became significantly more expensive. But here's the kicker. Gen Z is entering this economy with more student debt than any previous generation. In the US alone, student loan debt has surpassed $1.75 trillion. The previous administration, that is the Biden administration, gave student loan forgiveness plan which offered some relief. However, it's still a drop in the bucket for millions of young people. Globally, the story isn't much brighter. In countries like the UK, tuition fees have nearly quadrupled since the early 2000s, leaving many Gen Z graduates burdened with debt. Meanwhile, in developing nations, access to education remains challenged, with many young people forced to choose between work and school. So with all these financial backlogs, we are also entering in the world where we will be having shortage of skilled workers. Yeah, that's true. According to Korn Ferry report, by 2030, there could be a global talent shortage of around 85 million people. Now, that's a very big number. This shortfall is expected to result in significant revenue losses, estimated to be approximately $8.5 trillion in unrealized annual revenues. With this, we can derive a conclusion that there are high chances of world getting deindustrialized in the near future. Now, let's talk about how Gen Z spends their money. You might think, oh, they are all about avocado toast and overpriced coffee. But the reality is more nuanced. Gen Z is often labeled as frugal, and there is some truth to that. Growing up during economic instability has made them more cautious about their finances. A 2024 survey of Bank of America found that 75% of Gen Z are actively saving money and 60% have a budget. But here's the twist. They're also willing to splurge on experiences and brands that align with their values. Take sustainable fashion, for example. Gen Z is driving the rise of thrift stores and eco-friendly brands like Patagonia. They're not just buying products, they are investing in a lifestyle and a cause. So there is some sort of alertness in them with regards to the future. And let's not forget their love for technology. Gen Z spends a significant portion of their income on gadgets, apps, and streaming services. In fact, a report by Deloitte found that 42% of Gen Z would rather give up their car than their smartphone. Well, I guess that's applicable for all the people who are below the age of 65 in today's world. Talk about priorities, but how does this compare to previous generations? Well, millennials, for instance, are often criticized for their spending on experiences like travel and dining out. Gen Z, however, takes it a step further by prioritizing sustainability and digital connectivity. Boomers, on the other hand, grew up in an era of not just economic prosperity, but also an era where globalization was reaching new heights every year. Home ownership and stable jobs were the norm. For Gen Z, these milestones feel increasingly out of reach. Well, student debt is the elephant in the room. For Gen Z, higher education often comes with hefty price tag. This was not the case in previous century. The average student loan debt in the US is around $32,000 per borrower. And while college degrees is still seen as a pathway to success, many Gen Zers are questioning whether it's worth the cost. Take random person as an example. Like take Sarah, a 25 years old graphic designer from Chicago. She graduated with $45,000 in student debt and now works two jobs to make ends meet. I love my career, she says, but sometimes I wonder if I should have skipped the college and gone straight into the workforce. This is becoming a norm, and this kind of sentiment is growing. In 2024, a study by National Center for Education Statistics found that 38% of high school graduates are opting for trade schools or community colleges instead of 4 years in universities. So what's the reason behind that? Well, because they are more affordable and offer quicker path to stable career. Now, career word might sound controversial here. So I would probably use something like these degrees would offer continuous means of income. So globally, the student debt crisis look different, but it's equally concerning. In countries like Canada and Australia, tuition fees are lower than in the US, but cost of living expenses are skyrocketing, leaving many students struggling to make ends meet. In contrast, countries like Germany and Norway offer free low-cost higher education, but even there, young people face significant challenges like housing shortages and limited job opportunities. And with Russia-Ukraine conflict, Germany is pretty much on the verge of getting deindustrialized. Now let's talk a bit about housing, or the lack of thereof. So for Gen Z, owning a home feels like a distant dream now. Skyrocketing home prices, rising interest rates, and competitive market have made it nearly impossible for many young people to buy property. In 2024, the median home prices in the US hit $410,000, a 45% increase in just 5 years. And with mortgage rates hovering around 7.5%, even a modest home is out of reach for most Gen Zers. So what's the alternative? Well, renting. But here's the catch. Rent prices are also through the roof. In cities like New York and San Francisco, the average rent for one-bedroom apartment is over $3,200 a month. That's more than many Gen Zers earn in a month. As a result, many are turning to creative solutions. Some are living with their roommates well into their 30s, while others are moving back with their parents. In fact, a 2024 Pew Research study found that 27% of Gen Z adults live with their parents, a highest percentage in decades. Globally, the housing crisis is even more pronounced. In cities like London and Sydney, young people are being priced out of market entirely. In developing countries, informal settlements and overcrowded housing are the norm for many Gen Zers. Compared to previous generation, Gen Z's housing struggles are unprecedented. Boomers, for example, could buy a home in their 20s with a single income. Millennials faced challenges too, but Gen Z is dealing with perfect storm of high prices, stagnant wages, and economic uncertainties. This economic hardship has led to many problems like homelessness, depression, and even drug abuse. With traditional job offerings, limited financial security, Gen Z is embracing a gig economy and a side hustles for driving from Uber to selling handmade crafts on Etsy They are finding creative ways to make ends meet. A 2024 survey by Upwork found that 48% of Gen Z freelancers say that they earn more from their side gigs than their full-time jobs. For example, take Jake, a 23 years old college student who drives from DoorDash on weekends. It's not glamorous, he says, but it pays the bill and gives me some extra cash for fun. But the gig economy isn't without its challenges. Lack of benefits, inconsistent income, and job insecurity are a major concern. Still, for many Gen Zers, the flexibility and autonomy outweighs the risks. Globally, the gig economy is booming. In countries like India, for example, platforms like Swiggy and Zomato have created millions of jobs for young people. In Africa, mobile payment systems like M-Pesa are enabling Gen Z entrepreneurs to start businesses with minimal upfront costs. Compared to previous generations, Gen Z's reliance on gig work is unique. Boomers and Gen Xers typically stayed with one employers for decades, while millennials were the first to embrace freelance work. Gen Z, however, is taking it to a next level, often juggling multiple gigs at once. All these financial pressures are taking the toll on Gen Z's mental health. A 2024 study by American Psychological Association found that 83% of Gen Z adults report feeling stressed about money compared to 66% of millennials and 54% of Gen X. This financial anxiety is leading to rise in mental health issues like depression and anxiety. Many Gen Zers are turning to therapy and self-care practices to cope. But here's the thing. Therapy isn't cheap, and neither are self-care products. It's a vicious cycle. As a 21 years old Emma Polsett, well, she doesn't exist in real, it's just an example. So she says, I'm stressed about money, so I spend money on things that help me to cope with stress. It's exhausting. Globally, mental health challenges are even more pronounced in countries like Japan and Korea, where academic and workplace pressures are intense. Young people are experiencing record level of burnouts. In developing nations, access to mental health care is often limited, leaving many Gen Zers to cope on their own. But despite these challenges, Gen Z is resilient and resourceful. They are redefining what it means to succeed in a tough economy. Many are turning to entrepreneurship with startups founded by Gen Zers on the rise. They're also pushing for systematic change, from advocating for higher wages to demanding better climate policies. Gen Z is using their collective voice to shape the future. And let's not forget their focus on sustainability. Gen Z is leading the charge towards greener economy, supporting renewable energy and ethical businesses. In fact, a 2024 Nelson report found out that 77% of Gen Z are willing to pay more for sustainable products. Globally, Gen Z's impact is undeniable. In Europe, young activists are pushing for stronger climate policies. In Latin America, Gen Z entrepreneurs are using technology to address social and economic inequalities. And in Africa, young people are driving innovations in sectors like agriculture and fintech. So wrapping up, Gen Z is facing unprecedented economic challenges. And let's be honest about it, we can't completely blame them for everything. But they're also paving a way for a more inclusive and sustainable future. By understanding their struggle and supporting their efforts, we can all play a part in building a better world. So, what do you think? How can we help Gen Z thrive in this economy? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive into the issues that matter. Thanks for watching. Peace out.